Hi, welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts. You catch me on my YouTube channel, Bitchute channel, and my Facebook page, all at True Divine 44. You can get me also at The True Divine on Instagram and Twitter. Any likes, shares, subscribes, follows, and tweets, greatly appreciated. And much love to everybody who's doing that thus far, spreading the word about the channel, about the message that I try to convey. And so this is the message, the daily energy stroke tarot message, which I combine the energy work that I do and the tarot work that I do to help give you a narrative, give you a blueprint of the energies of each day, to help you recognize the energies within you, around you, and within others. Take what resonates as it is general and leave what does not. Always leave a comment if you feel led to, because I love to see how other people are working their way through the energies each day and how they are navigating their way through that and how they are doing well, or how a comment back from me or anybody else could help. It opens up dialogue and it builds up connections, and the connections that are building up on the YouTube channel in particular are beautiful. They're strengthening to one another. So it's good to read through the comments, even if you don't want to leave one, because the people that are there, the family that is being built is superb, and you get nuggets of gold knowledge and wisdom from other people there that just leave things in great context. So I appreciate everybody who does those comments, because you're not just helping you, you're helping those who read them. So this is for the 3rd of February 2021. It's interesting for sure. It's an energy of intensity right now, isn't it? And it's almost like being in a tumble dryer that has a cold cycle and a hot cycle. But nevertheless, the movement, the moving parts, the moving particles that are colliding, that are working together, that are attracted to another, are immense. And so trying to find yourself in that space is difficult for sure, but it's not undoable. It is absolutely doable. It is absolutely your right to find your place within this lifetime, your right to do what you are led to do within this lifetime. And so this is where we are being challenged to meet our own challenges, the things that we've set before ourselves, as well as the generations and those DNA strands before us. There's a lot of unpicking to do, but there's also a lot of building to do. So for the 3rd of February 2021, we've got, let's see which one. Okay, so we've got the King of Cups on the bottom of the deck. And so this is where we are being asked to be warriors of love. We've been faced with a lot of darkness right now. And the true test of a heart's warrior, a lion heart, is to know that even in the face of darkness, you can show compassion. You can show love in authority. This is a king energy. So there's an authority there, but there's an authority that is put forward with love, with compassion, with understanding. This king, this energy, this is a balanced emotional state with a lot of emotional intelligence. And this is what we're all being asked by the universe to show and be at the moment. And it seems counterproductive. But the true lion heart, the true warrior heart, the ego isn't the pride of place. The fear of being hurt if you get rejected is not in there. The love is just given regardless. The compassion is given regardless. And where we are being filled right now and processed right now through this tumble dryer, which has low frequency magic being thrown all over it. While we're in this abyss, it's difficult to find this place to act from this balanced heart chakra place, to act from our heart brain, to be wiser, bigger, better, more balanced than the darkness. This is what we need to infuse and throw all over the place. This is what we need to be and really feel it, really truly feel it and be it. It's difficult for sure, but it's something that we haven't tried en masse for a long time. To be in control of our emotions, be in authority of our emotions, be the kingly over our emotions, being wise where to put our emotions, being wise which waters and emotions in those waters to be around. Wisdom in the water is integral right now. And you see, because the emotions are water and you're infusing heart chakra energy into that water, you know yourself, if you bleed and you drop it into water, it takes a tiny amount of blood compared to a bath of water to make it red. It's more powerful than the mass of water. It dilutes, yes, but it dilutes and spreads and taints the water with red, with claret. And so to show this, it doesn't take too much, but if there's ego involved, it takes a lot to make that ego step aside, to show even what would be perceived as enemies, compassion, understanding, and love from a balanced emotional space. It would only take a tiny amount of that dropped in their waters, a tiny amount of understanding, a tiny amount of shock because you're giving them that compassion to taint in a good way, to tinge their waters. So you see, from the heart chakra space, it takes far less than the amount of low frequency dark ink that is being put into the waters right now. I hope that makes sense, because I've got visions running through my brain as I'm trying to speak it, as I'm trying to put it into words. Sometimes I struggle with visions that I have to then portray them into words. The language is so limiting. But I just want you to picture dropping something like blood, something that is powerfully coloured into a bath worth of water. And imagine how that infuses and taints the water, changes the colour, changes the tone of the water, changes even the consistency of the water. So if we can do this from a balanced place of love, imagine how much we could infuse this time that we are in and change the direction that we are going in with just a small amount of compassion and love, even to what would be perceived as our enemies. So on the bottom of the deck, of the other deck, we have the Two of Cups. And this is speaking about balanced divinity within the divine feminine and divine masculine, being in combined balance and work and being able to dip into both simultaneously to act from that place of balance. It also speaks to soulmate connections. It also speaks to those true connections that you can trust, where two wholes come together, not two halves, not two wounds, but two wholes come together and stand stronger together. You can see these two jugs of water here. So this is, again, the emotional state and the need for balance to act in that emotional state. How many ducks are on there? There's 5 ducks, so midpoint 5, the midpoint to 10, which is the end of any cycle in tarot. And so this is speaking of this balanced place where we dip into the divine feminine, dip into the divine masculine. And we can do that outside of self with trusted relationships. And this is why it's important to connect with people of the same frequency right now and be in I want to say communion with them, you know, be in this space of trust, of love, and that takes a lot of doing, I know. But there are people that are like you, that will serve you as you serve them, with no deviousness, no nastiness. So this is so important as a message for today, for the 3rd of February. So the first card in the reading, we've got the Devil. So this is where we are looking at a moment in time where we are seeing the breaks and the collision of timelines. We are seeing and recognizing, but not fully understanding, where the script got flipped, where this hijack of humanity took place, and who started it, who is behind it. To go that far, you know, is too much for daily energy reading, but to know that they have inverted the divinities. They inverted the divinity, attacked the divine feminine, and in doing so, within each and every one, whether you're male or female, they automatically took the rug from beneath, which was the divine feminine rug, from beneath the divine masculine. So we are in a place right now of surrender, and we have been in surrender for a very long time. And it's going to take a lot to see the detail that has gone into this hijack over the generations after generations of people, beings who have been born into certain lines. I keep hearing the Council of 13. I keep hearing that very, very clearly. So to know which and who is part of that Council of 13 and those that serve them thereafter would give us some answers. But it's for us to look in our personal lives also, of what in our relationships, our friendships, our business partnerships, our lovers, has the script been flipped? Are you balanced like that 2 of Cups? Are you in communion with each other? Do you enhance one another, or are you breaking each other down? Are you accepting the script that was given so long ago, where they took the divine feminine rug from out beneath the divine masculine's feet? If we are not serving ourselves correctly in our divinities within, in our divine feminine and divine masculine within, then that will reflect in our outer relationships, in our external. We will draw in energies, you know, that we're constantly subconsciously trying to make ourselves whole. So you see these broken relationships after broken relationships coming in. Why? Because we, like magnets, are calling out for the lesson to finally set us free from any given wound that is not making us whole, and others are doing the same. So there's the internal and external, like magnets, being attracted together. So many of you are still being called to be in wisdom, like this King of Cups. Be compassionate, yes, but be in a balanced place. And ask yourself, are your emotions serving you as they should? Are your emotions, the way you feel about others, are they serving you as they should, or are they tainted? Are they tainted with this hijack? Is the little seeds within that water that is pollinating your whole way of emotional intelligence as to what is right in your own life regarding relationships? Because when we are putting things like this right, we become more whole. When we become more whole, we are freed from these chains. We are freed from these bound and shackled chains that keep us in our lower frequency. Ask yourself if you are infusing your waters with things of the drugs nature, of alcohol nature. Are you actively damaging yourself and keeping yourself shackled and chained to your lower frequencies? If you are, you'll keep attracting those lessons in, you know, until that you hit that magical rock bottom, which is life-saving in many ways, the dark night of the soul. And so this is where we are being asked to seriously look at where we have accepted this flipped script within our individual lives. In order to put this right, we become strengthened, we become whole, we become far less easy to shackle through low frequency magic, put through the headlines, put through the mainstream media, put through the news. This Council of 13 has cut itself and squeezed in every different system that is built up. It doesn't need to do much. It just needs to infuse a little bit to gain puppets that will go forward. Shackled and bound, yes, but shackled and bound to a life of money, to a life of wealth, to a life of, Hollywood. So they can stay pretty hidden now because they have just had to squeeze a small drop into each of these systems. And all of a sudden the tentacles grow out. And so we need to be getting the message across also to these people that we suspect in mainstream media to stop what they're doing, to make it known that we know what they're doing, to make it known that we know they've sold their soul. They've shackled themselves, and in return for that, they will continue to shackle you through whatever system they belong to, whether it be the government, whether it be military, whether it be news, whether it be medicine, science. All of these things have been little few drops put in, and they're tainted, and they are part of this prison system that is no longer acceptable. But we can't do anything about this prison system because we can't even see the shackles of their prison system if we can't look at our individual lives and see where the shackles are, see where the places are that we are bound and serving something else rather than serving our own divinity. You see this star on top of the devil? It's inverted. You see the horns that would represent the divine feminine, they've made sure to choose a goat to turn them around so they no longer represent the moon, the bull, the Taurus, the physical world that we live in, the divine feminine. The divinity here, the divine feminine and divine masculine, shackled and bound. This day, there is a lot of low frequency magic going on. This day, there is going to be a lot put out in the headlines. There is going to be a lot of triggering. See orbs flying by. There's going to be a lot of triggering going on. There's going to be a lot of poking and prodding of the bear. Don't give them what they want. To everything you intuitively look at and think, that's one of them. That's triggering. That's trying to suck me in. Whether it's in your individual life or whether it is you witnessing and observing something on the collective stage. Instead of being triggered, call it out. Call it out. Write letters, write emails, go on social media, and just make noise that way. Just knowing that you are seen. We are digging now. We are going to the bottom because we're not afraid of the wounds that we need to clear out in our own lives ourselves. So in that low, dark place that has been taken over, we aren't in fear of going there because that's part of being shackled and bound. They do this in various different ways. Pornography being another one, to shackle you into your lower frequency. And instead of you seeing your creativity space there, the womb, the wand, you see something that wants to be hidden. You see things that make you feel guilt. So if we can't dig in our own dark place and make it a space of creativity, make it a space of birthing, of magic, then we will not look at them, because that's in the spaces that they hide in our lives. So be aware of this today, because we have the Magician to clarify this Devil card. Woohoo! So you have the capacity, you have all of the tools at your feet, ready to see the as above, so below, ready to be the middle point, the conduit, ready to be the physical body that can create what your spirit allows you to create, what your spirit is calling you to create, what your spirit is wanting to right wrongs, wanting to be abundant in your own life. You have every tool on the table. You have lessons learned. You have balanced waters. You have fire. You have earth. You even have the ether. And you have the, what else? The swords, the thought, the magician being, Gemini card, the number 1. And so this is where we have the capacity to become the magi of every aspect of our divinities and act in a magical way, to really infuse this reality in a different way, to leave it better than we found it. But we also have the magic being thrown about that will keep you chained, that will try with all its might to keep you chained so it can stay hidden in the shadows. And so this is where you've been called upon to be brave. We have the Strength card as the next card. And this again is calling for balance of the divine feminine, divine masculine. We have the infinity sign above her head, this being the divine feminine. The infinity sign being a balance of the divine feminine and divine masculine, and the eternal life, the knowledge of eternity. Having that space where the divine feminine is in loving, compassionate guidance of the divine masculine, that the divine feminine strength can calm the divine masculine until the intuition in both of them knows it's ready to act and how to act. So we're asking not to be triggered today, and that takes a lot of strength. So in your individual life, you all might, not all, many of you might have people who you can look at now after seeing this reading and think, you're deliberately trying to pull me into an argument, you're deliberately trying to get me to say something. It'll take strength of the divine feminine to ease that divine masculine lion, to not rush into action and say what needs to be said. You'll get your chance to do all of that, but in a timely manner. And from your balanced space of divine feminine, divine masculine, you will know the right time, and the right result will come of that because it is the right time. We've got the death card to clarify. It's a big, big day. The death card to clarify this strength card. And so this is where we are transitioning. It's up to us where we transition to. It is up to us whether to grow with that transition, expand with that transition. But nevertheless, the cycle is calling. We're rolling into huge transitions in our individual lives and the collective stage. And so we need to have the strength, the stamina, the fortitude to go forward, but go forward in a divine way. You see, a lot of these triggers that have gone on in 2020 and 2021 have been the fear of death. It's been the part of this really low frequency magic has to be to manifest fear of death, fear of transition, fear of the next birth in people's mindsets. That fear actually creates more chance of death. It lowers the immune system. It makes people act in certain ways. It makes people take certain things in their arm to avoid something that is going to happen anyway. But the more you embrace the concept of death, of transition, and do not fear it, but celebrate it, the more opportunity there is to live in this lifetime more fully. because the fear of death, the fear of the end, inhibits you from reaching your full potential. And it is a shame that as woken minds, we're looking out to many in the collective that have been affected by this low frequency magic, by these headlines creating fear of death, even though in a mass amount the graphs don't add up. But that doesn't matter. If they can manifest the seed of doubt, the seed of fear, then they've done the work, because the collective finishes off that magic spell for them. The collective then has that divide. And so it may be that some of you are touched by death today spiritually. It may be that you have quite a weird experience where you seem to surrender a certain aspect of a part of you that you've been holding on to so strongly. And this transition from that, this death of a part of your old self, makes you feel so light it feels weird. That it feels like you've been doing breathing exercises and released DMT. Don't be afraid of that. Flow with that, transition into that, accept that. Believe in yourself. Believe in that. Especially with addictions. Today, the energies of today, there's the dualistic, obviously. You can keep taking the pills. You can keep taking whatever you're taking and sink real low. Or you can use these energies that are offered up today to break those shackles and have it be the last day that you ever feel bound to that old part of self. It just becomes another magic set in your magician's box. So the other aspect is that some of you might know somebody today who passes away. It might even be blamed on something that it wasn't. And we've been indoctrinated to be so sad when people pass away. And don't get me wrong, that is an important, an integral part of the process. The people we love are worth rivers of tears. But we've been indoctrinated to not celebrate their life, to not even celebrate their transition. And if you've gone through your life knowing that there is more, knowing that there are other dimensions, knowing that there is an expansive, creative space after death of this physical life, why do we not remember that and hold that dear when it actually happens and touches us in our individual lives? Why? Because death has been another way of shackling us, to grieve endlessly, to anticipate the pain of it endlessly. And so if today you are touched by somebody dying, if today that happens with you, but you already feel close to that person, that you already have fond, beautiful, blissful memories rushing in, don't feel guilt for smiling. Don't feel guilt for raising a glass and honoring your loved one. Don't feel guilt for being able to process it in the way that we used to. Don't feel guilt for being able to process that in a way that is far different to how we've been indoctrinated to process death for a long, long time. So I just wanted to lift that from anybody who needed to hear that today. There's no guilt. That joy that you feel is honourable and honouring to your loved one. It also speaks to prominent people. There's death by numbers. There's a song by the Police, Death by Numbers. It's very telling. This Council of 13 and those below them, I'm convinced, in fact, I would say I know, that death by numbers, a game that they play. The people that have been shackled to them and done their deeds, you know, been famous, been given all of this wealth, part of that contract is that, you know, when the numbers are up, when the numbers match you, when the headline can be matched to you, when you can be the ultimate distraction, gone. So look out for that. It's been happening a lot lately. Have you noticed a lot of prominent and not so prominent, but well-known, loved characters of like our childhood just going, poof, be gone? That's not an accident. And they'll say whatever they need to say that it was that sent them out, that transitioned them over, but I don't believe it. So we've got the Lovers card as the next card. This is a big day and pretty hard to read, to be quite frank. The energies are flowing real strong. So this number 6, Lovers, Major Arcana, you can see here, this is the Divine Feminine and Divine Masculine yet again. And the power that gives, the anointing that gives, the sublime divinity and enlightenment that gives, when we can balance that out between ourselves. It also calls for us to make a major decision in our lives, a huge decision in our lives. And it is, you know, reflective of, let's say, because we had to clarify this one, we had Temperance, but in reverse. So there's some things that we're making today, or we have the potential to make today, decisions that aren't in the balanced place. Temperance in the upright, you can see here the spirit-like figure in the background is holding 2 gold balls in a completely balanced place. The arms are balanced out. You know, the red crossed ribbon is you know, in space of crossing those energies over, transmuting those energies, transmuting that sadness. In this card, in the Temperance card, it is also calling for us to inner stand death more, inner stand the ability to understand death as being part of the process, not an end of the process, that it is a part of someone's story, not the full stop to somebody's story. From this space, you can transmute all of the lessons that these people have given you. But it is also speaking to, they are going to try and infuse a lot of energy into the matrix today that is going to, you know, give shock. And these prominent deaths keep coming up in my mind. And they're going to try and send us out of whack. They're going to try and send us out of balance, and try and make us or direct us, guide us into making decisions in our individual life, and as far as the actions we take towards the collective stage, from a very unbalanced place, from a fearful place, from a place of hatred. And so this is where we need this strength again. We go back to the strength to stay poised, stay graceful, and have the fortitude to act when your divinity says so, not when anything on the external says so. Be careful in business today to not act out of temper, to not act out of anger towards the people that you work with, or indeed your employees. You acting from a balanced place will open up doors from anything that you're feeling imbalanced about, contracts or anything like that. You acting in this balanced way will actually create, it will balance your books, so to speak, in business. And so this is a powerful day to turn these things around. And this would be a shock to those that, the so-called powers that be, on the collective stage, because they wouldn't be getting the reaction they dearly want. And it'll also bring balance into your life. It'll also create those relationships that a lot of you are longing for, that are two wholes coming together, two divinities, divine feminine, divine masculine, coming together, rather than two halves coming together. And so this is where we see brave, balanced decisions opening up huge doors in our individual life, whether that be business, whether that be relationships, and changing the course somewhat of the collective stage, making them think again. Now, another card came out, which is the Three of Pentacles. This is speaking to teamwork. This is speaking to getting the job done. Think Freemasonry. Think about those drops of blood with that Council of 13. They will work together very, very well, even with their enemies. They will infiltrate every label that has been given to every organized religion that you see. In fact, Archbishop Viagno confirmed that after a few of the readings that had said that was happening. He put out a speech that was hardly spoken of, that the church, the Catholic Church, had been infiltrated. Think of the first letter of my name. Think of those tentacles going through every system. They will even pretend to be the colleagues and best friends of others. They will even get up in front of a camera to you and speak the rhetoric of the side that they hate being in, but will work together, will do the job to fulfill the narrative, to fulfill the codes, to fulfill the direction that they want humanity to go into. This is where we need to think differently and not be acting from imbalanced places out of our indoctrinated hatred that we have towards one another, whether we are belonging from a different side or from a different religious context. This is where we could really shock the system. This is where we could get those hot paddles out, and shock the system by acting in a different way. And again, you might think, well, how come my actions would make any different? Remember, just one drop of blood, a couple of drops of blood even, in a huge amount of water compared to those couple of drops. The difference that you make creates ripples. That ripple effect that they are using very widely right now and have been for a long time. We need to do that also. We need to be able to shock the system today. Reach out and just say a few kind words, to somebody that is on the other side. We shouldn't have any sides at this point as woken people, but reach out, and this is how they have worked this matrix out. This is how they have created the matrix that we have been living in for a very long time, because they can work together regardless of their ego when they're called upon to do so. And they've built great things, great buildings that then others go and worship in, not knowing that they're worshiping to not the God that they speak of, but a construct, a building block. So this is where we can make a difference as individuals, and I'm calling on all of you to do so, to cause that ripple effect, where those drops of low frequency magic are being put into our sphere. We put 10 times more drops of compassion and love and balance and temperance, and having the strength to do so. So we've got, to clarify that, we've got the Lovers card. So this is where those major decisions to work with even people that we don't necessarily agree with, to act from a place of divinity and sovereignty, will definitely shock the system and only bring good things towards you, guaranteed, particularly in business and relationships. So that's the reading for the 3rd of February 2021. I hope you got all of that. It felt like an intense energy reading it. I'm still feeling it now. To to be honest, I do not like what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing as far as the teamwork that is going on the collective stage, and the mind manipulation and the creation of thoughts that are self-damaging in my brothers and sisters, in the collective, in the many. I don't like what I'm feeling. I don't like what I'm seeing. But what I do like, what I really love very, very much is I know a lot of you, and you're so powerful, and you can keep your egos in check. You can act from a place of divine sovereign love. And with this, there's strength. With this, we have a way of changing the focus and direction of today, which will have a ripple effect on tomorrow. And so I appreciate you all taking heed of the messages, doing what you will with them, but taking heed of them and maybe acting on some of them is fantastic as far as the direction we're going in. So I appreciate you all. I love how powerful you all are and how divine you all are. So much love. Stay balanced and definitely stay whole. If you'd like a personal reading with me or any energy workout sessions or any spiritual coaching, you can get in touch with me at truedivinemedia@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on my Facebook page and message me there, truedivine44. Much love. Mwah. You okay, Theodore?
Yes. I just want to come in.